there is no bigger headline than this. Tom Brady's time of reckoning begins. The Patriots quarterback is definitely going to be presenting his case to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, who is hearing his appeal of his 4-game DeflateGate suspension. Attorney Ted Wells determined Tom Brady was generally aware of the activities of Patriots staffers Jim McNally and John Jastrzemski, whom are suspected of intentionally releasing air from the balls prior to the start of the AFC Championship game. And I'm curious from you guys, what do you think of this, and what are you already expecting from this appeal today?
What's the old line from the movie, A Few Good Men? It doesn't matter what I believe. It only matters what I can prove. With all that tension that's going to be in that room, whether it's today or maybe a couple of days down the line, when they all get together, you're going to have Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, Ted Wells, the man that led the investigation, and Tom Brady and his counsel from the NFL Players Association, all in a confined space. Thank God no kettlebells will be around, and that whole thing is going to jump off in New York.
Oh, Lord.
If you're Tom Brady, it comes down to the fact, how much can you convince Roger Goodell that that happened, but I had nothing to do with it? How much are you going to bring to the table to prove your innocence when you didn't bring anything and you were steadfast in not giving the NFL any information? Now, believe me, Patriots fans with the whole free Tom Brady thing, I didn't realize Tom Brady was in jail for DeflateGate. Who knew?
Oh, Lord.
But at the same time, their support has been unwavering, thinking that the NFL has an agenda, and Tom Brady is their big fish in this situation to show everybody that if you're Roger Goodell, I'm going to show you my power. They're on the side of, you know what, anytime Roger Goodell has tried this, an arbitrator or an independent observer has been able to kind of overturn certain situations. So I would love for this to have like a camera in that room, because you know when you get those men in there, there's not going to be a handshake. There's not going to be a how are you doing. It's going to be, okay, you think I'm guilty. I'm going to show you that I'm not. Or on the other side, you know what? We felt that you started this whole thing. They did this at the behest of your instructions for whatever reason in a game that you clearly won and didn't need the help when it comes to doing something like that. That tension, Tom Brady wants this down to 0. Roger Goodell wants to keep it at 4. It wouldn't surprise me if it gets down to 2, but I think both of these entities being in that room, that's going to be very interesting.
What are you expecting at this appeal hearing today?
Well, I thought you were going to say that, you know, for a few good men, you can't handle the truth. You want the truth, you can't handle the truth.
Solid.
I was on the phone late last night talking to some people with knowledge of the situation or close to the situation, and I came away what I believe is that Tom Brady is going to be transparent. I believe that he is going to provide phone records if need be. Now, that's something that he did not do earlier. He did sit for 5 hours with lawyers, but did not provide any of his text or phone call records, and I believe that he would be transparent and do that today if need be. Now, I do also think that Tom Brady is going to say that he did nothing wrong. He's going to maintain that stance. He's going to use that, the American Enterprise Institute, that report that debunked the science in the Ted Wells report, basically saying about the balls and things like that. They're going to try and poke holes into the Ted Wells report. They're going to try and poke holes into Roger Goodell's rulings over the years, things of that nature. But Tom Brady is going to keep his stance that he's innocent of any wrongdoing. What evidence do you have of my wrongdoing? Do you have any handwritten notes? Do you have any text messages that link me saying that I did some wrong? I think he's going to try and prove all that stuff. And look, if the suspension is 4 games and it's not reduced to 2 or something like that, I would not be surprised if he tries to appeal in federal court, which then could drag it out through the season, and then maybe he ends up serving a suspension later in the season, which would be bad for the Patriots.
Well, we do know that they have the text messages from Jastrzemski's side and McNally's side. At least it would seem like, based on what you're seeing on that side, that it would be interesting to know what the other person said on the other side that wouldn't go along or correspond with that.
Then they will argue, look, Ted Wells, if all the evidence you have are text messages from May and October from 2 guys that sound like 16-year-old kids, you know, texting each other, OMG, OMG, and a bunch of cuss words.
It's a little bit more than OMG. Like, do you have a good explanation for someone calling themselves the deflator? I mean, what else could be?
And this is the problem for Tom Brady as an innocent guy. If you're an innocent guy in any situation, the first thing that you do when someone comes at you is you run right back and go, I didn't do nothing. Here's everything. And what did he do? Hey, can we see your phone? Nah. Nah.
Why would you want to see my phone?
Nah, you can't. There's some pictures on there, maybe. No, Now you want to give the commissioner your phone? Now you want to sit down and be transparent? You had the opportunity to be transparent before. And oh yeah, those guys who are sending those text messages back and forth, we haven't heard boo from them.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you something, as a larger dude, you call me a deflator, I'm going to punch you in the head.
let me ask y'all something, though.
Right.
If they had the phone records to the two equipment guys, right, and their text messages, if Tom did text them, wouldn't it show up on their records?
You would think so. And
Right.
how ironic is it that a team that loves dealing in gray areas, a gray area with this Wells report could keep your quarterback out anywhere from 2 to 4 games? I'm not saying the Patriots deserve this. I will say this. Why would you want to have this kind of stain next to your football team again? We can go into the whole Spygate thing and, well, everybody was doing it. Well, quarterbacks are deflating or inflating footballs, but yet you're the only team that got caught because of an investigation. If you're the Patriots, you've been that great of an organization. Why would you give anybody any doubt to put a circle or something next to what you're able to? They have one of the great fourth quarter comebacks in the history of the Super Bowl. That should be talked about more instead of quarterback and DeflateGate and text messages. That thing seems to happen where another gray area puts a team that loves dealing in gray areas in trouble.
Here's the problem with all this. If you want to go after the Patriots and say, look, you guys have been acting shady for a long time now, going back to Spygate and all that, by all means do that. Definitely take away first-round picks from them. Fine them all this money. But when you go against Tom Brady and you put Tom Brady in there, you spend $5 million on this investigation, but you don't really have concrete evidence, and you're going after the face of the game, the NFL better be prepared for the long process. Here's the part that it contemplates, though. When Troy Vincent put that letter to Tom Brady, one of the things that it underlined was the failure to comply. So if you are citing that as a reason or as part of the discipline, that's not something that can change in the appeal. So what would be the point then of underlining that just to allow him to present new evidence in the appeal? Then it would basically just suggest that all players could circumvent. You could say if you're the NFL, look, you know what, we'll suspend you 2 games because you failed to comply to our liking.
Absolutely.
Right? But 4 games? 4 games, that's a lot, and I think that's going to be the argument for
4 games is not a lot for an organization that has a shady past.
But that's the organization, not Tom Brady.
Not Tom Brady.
The punishment's the punishment, and let's be honest about text messages. How many athletes do we know that got more than one cell phone?
Well,
just because he's going to give him his personal cell phone doesn't mean he doesn't have a corporate cell phone that he texts on too.
But I also believe that same letter contemplated the fact that they don't necessarily believe that the AFC Championship game was the first time. I mean, logically, if we're using our common sense, I think that's also a part of it as well.
Let's be honest. If this is a backup quarterback or someone who doesn't have the cachet in the name of Tom Brady, maybe it's a fine, it's a slap on the wrist.
I mean, if it's Matt Castle.
Absolutely. If it's Matt Castle, somebody like that, you know, to your point, that's exactly right. But because Tom Brady is one of the faces of the National Football League. If you're Roger Goodell, you're thinking, dude, really? You were involved in this kind of diabolical espionage, allegedly. Why would you want to have a part of that if you're Tom Brady? I think that's part of this whole thing, why Tom Brady's got a 4-game suspension staring him in the face. It's because his name is Tom Brady and not somebody else.
And that's the problem for Tom Brady for not running out immediately, going, take all my stuff. Check it all out right now. Here's everything. Lay your cards on the table immediately. If he would have done that, the punishment wouldn't be what it is.
Well, here's the interesting thing is because, you know, we talk about Troy Vincent being the one that kind of imposed the discipline, but if you look at the specific language, it says that he's the one that communicated the language, and I think that's key because Roger Goodell wants to be able to say, listen, I concurred with this recommendation, but I'm not a central witness here, so that allows me to be able to hear this without having any prejudgment. And I'm curious, do you feel like his underlying knowledge of the facts and concurrence of this recommendation abstains him from any prejudgment when it comes to the appeal?
I just feel like Roger Goodell is the man when it comes to all the decision making. He wants the buck to stop with him, right? Most powerful man in sports is the commissioner, right? So he knows everything that's going on. And I think that's the one problem that probably Tom Brady's camp probably has with this is, well, here's the guy who ruled on it, and now he's also presiding over the appeal. There's something a little bit wrong with that.
He should be presiding over the appeal. That should be an independent person doing that. I honestly believe that because if you're the one part of handing down the suspension, you should not be the judge and jury in this situation. Twice. That's why players have a problem with Roger Goodell. You can't just hand down the suspension and then you're going to judge him. I'm going to get 4 games or 0. That's completely off base. And let me say this: if this holds up, okay, if Tom Brady does get suspended 4 games, you better believe when the next CBA comes up, the players are going to be like, no, we can't have Roger Goodell have this much power and decide whatever he wants at his whim that this guy can be suspended for 4 games for anything.
Roger Goodell hasn't had a great year to begin with.
and still get paid a lot of money.
Real quick, just on your last point, when you're talking about you feel like he should recuse, I think the difference was with the Ray Rice thing is that they were talking about he should be recusing himself there because there was a dispute as to what Roger Goodell said to Ray Rice and vice versa, whereas here saying not necessarily essential witness because I'm just aware of the underlying facts, but there was nothing directly said to me. So I think that's probably what they're saying there. But on to another controversial matter involving